It's been a while since I did a roundup of watches that I've had hands-on with and what I think about them. These are some watches released in the last year, my thoughts on them, their strengths, weaknesses, and who they're for. Let's dive in. I've spoken about the Planet Ocean before, but never purely from the perspective of the watch. Specs first, 42mm case, 47.5mm lug to lug. That's very wearable. 13.79mm thick, which is not thin, but better than the previous model. 3 models, blue bezel, black bezel, and orange bezel. No helium escape valve, METAS, etc., etc., etc. Price $9,200. This is how you should think about the new Planet Ocean relative to other watches. The old Planet Ocean, because of its sheer bulk, predominantly matte finishing and presence, came across as a real tool watch for people that needed a tool watch. The new Planet Ocean is not that anymore. Regardless of the specs, regardless of the history of it, this is now a luxury desk diver. This is positioned as a watch for people who wear nice shirts, have a decent amount of cash, and want a watch that looks good at the pool and around the cubicle. Honestly, the best comparison with Rolex is not the Submariner, it's the Yachtmaster. Planet Ocean, like the Yachtmaster, has a bit more punch, a bit more color, and a bit more flair. It's frankly flashier. It's impeccably put together. The bracelet is excellent with its polished center links, low profile, relatively strong taper, and good adjustability options. The dial is phenomenal, except for one detail that I will get back to. It's every bit as premium as you would want a watch like this to be. Weaknesses? I think it has 4. The black dial version, that's where I said I would get back to it, just doesn't pop because of the matted numerals. The blue and white numerals pops. The orange does to some extent as well, but the black doesn't. Second, the underside of the clasp of the bracelet is very sharp, almost uncomfortably so. It's also quite shiny, that's the whole point, but you're not getting a tool watch, and that's maybe the feel you would be hoping for. You're just not going to get it. And finally, it's expensive, $9,200. That's essentially a Rolex Submariner. Who's it for? The person that thinks Rolex is boring. Person that wants some punch like a Yachtmaster, but from a different brand. It's a person who wants a moderately prominent desk diver that is versatile in most scenarios. The current 36 and 39mm ranges from Tudor are the best iterations of the Ranger Tudor has made. From the model about, I'm going to say 10 years back, that was much bigger, much thicker, and with a bun strap, Tudor has iterated and improved on the design to a point where it's an almost perfect design within the constraints of the Tudor design language. The Dune color is good. I know that almost any field or explorer watch lover every year screams for a polar dial explorer from Rolex, but I'm actually pretty sure that this Dune color is a better option. White would make something far too formal and not particularly rugged. The Dune color is just good. The 36mm version with an 11mm case thickness on a matte steel bracelet is the best of the bunch. I've never been an Explorer watch fan, but if you're going to go down this route, 36mm, as far as I'm concerned, is the way to go. Not just because of the size, but the bracelet just matches better in regards to the proportions of the center links and the outer links. Strengths, it's a tool watch. Tudor do this kind of watch really, really well. It's more solid, more premium feeling than any Hamilton khaki, but it doesn't compromise on the tool feel. I've always felt that field watches have this inherent tipping point where if you do too much to the case, you end up with something that no longer is a tool watch. One polished or chamfered edge too much takes it from explorer territory to Datejust territory in an instant. Legibility is great, simplicity also great. Weaknesses, honestly, the problem with this kind of watch has nothing to do with the watch. It's just a fact that there are so many like them. Hanhart, Hamilton, Rolex, Serica. A lot of these watches are cheaper and in terms of case and dial, just as good. Movement-wise, you might still get more, but the whole point of this category of field watch is simplicity. So it's just not on a model like this where you really see what Tudor adds of extra features in terms of ceramic bezels and sunray dials and Jubilee bracelets. That's what makes this watch just a little bit less compelling, because the simplicity of it makes other watches at cheaper prices very close to comparable. Who's it for? It's for outdoor people, people that own or want to own a Land Rover Defender or Jeep Wrangler. You have boots from Red Wing or Dana, but you're actually okay with them getting muddy. You do know how to attach a winch and you can change a tire. You don't have to, you can afford to pay someone to do it, but if you wanted to, you could. As for alternatives, Hanhart Preventer would be a good option. Another option that will also be great is the Longines Spirit. I think that's a superior watch. It's a little bit shinier and I suppose technically positioned as a pilot's watch, but it's a great option for a lot of people for a little bit less. Here's a fact. Half of you watching aren't subscribed. Of the half of you, most of you keep coming back anyway, and yet you're not subscribed. The fact is, subscribers matter. So since you're here, please click the button. It's hugely appreciated. And for those of you that are subscribed, thank you for bearing with me for 20 seconds trying to convince some other people to subscribe. Thanks for your patience. Thanks. Let's just get the major negative out immediately for the Zenith Defy Sports Revival 3643. $7,300 for what is essentially a go anywhere, do anything sports watch. IWC will sell you a similar watch for $6,000 in the Mark 20. Breitling for the Top Time B31, $6,100. A 41mm Aquaterra will be $200 less at $7,100. Any which way you look, the Zenith is one of the most expensive sports watches in this mid-price range out there right now. It's got a 37mm case, it's got 42mm lug-to-lug, and a multi-sided case and almost lugless design, which is almost completely unique. Nomos, Omega, Breitling, everybody else does round case, round bezel, and 3-link bracelet, but not Zenith. This is an unapologetically retro dial to case to ladder bracelet. It wears like a dream and literally like nothing else out there. This is a watch with personality. This is a watch that doesn't do what all the others do. It stands on its own 2 feet and shouts, "I'm different." Not weird, not quirky, not strange, just different. The finishing is also of a very high standard, and you can say what you want about laddered bracelets, but it wears really, really well. Weaknesses, apart from the price, it's the feature set. Push pin clasp, lower power reserve than the competition. That's where this watch has problems. But the watch itself is fabulous. Who's it for? Nobody buys a Zenith, especially not this Zenith, by accident. And I know very few people that buy a $7,000 watch are buying it by accident. But the point I'm trying to convey is that there's a highly deliberate choice behind this watch. Whether someone buys a Black Dial Oyster Perpetual or a Black Dial Aquaterra or a Black Dial Breitling might be down to accident and chance. Those watches, although distinct to you and me, are all highly interchangeable. And if one was in the display case and the other wasn't, then many customers would likely buy the one that was there. But not so with a multi-sided ladder bracelet sports watch. The person that buys this watch thinks that BMW, Mercedes, and Audis are essentially all the same car with different logos. The person that buys this watch buys an Alfa Romeo. The other day, I was in a store that stocked cheaper watches. Oris, Seiko, those kind of watches. And in that store, they also had Longines and Tag Heuer as well. But the, in inverted commas, cheap Tags and Longines, the quartz models, the entry models, they had none of what a nerd like me would call the cool stuff. You won't find the Carrera Chronograph glassbox in those stores. You'll find them in the Bucherer display, where the other cool stuff is. The Carrera glassbox is cool. It's got retro lineage. It's not a chronograph trying to be like a Daytona or an IWC Pilot Performance. It's an old school Heuer more than a new wave Tag. At this price, it's not cheap, but honestly, it's not too bad for what you get. It's not value by any stretch of the imagination, and it would definitely be a watch that I tell you to buy on secondary and get a discount, but it's a better offering than you would expect from Tag. The key claim to fame is the size of this watch and a domed edge-to-edge crystal with scale under the glass. Depending on the version, it can be a 60-minute counter or a full-on tachymeter. It's a stunner of a watch. It's got a 5-link bracelet and a deploy clasp that really makes for a sexy little piece of wrist candy. It's a strength that it's not like all the other chronos. I do get a little bit tired of the Zenith Chronomasters and other Daytona-esque watches out there. Not that I haven't bought my share of those watches, but it's good that there are alternatives that don't fall into that mold. A little bit of a glass box and a different bracelet make for something that's not like the rest, and that's good for variety, it's good for optionality, and it's good for customers in general. Weaknesses? The deploying clasp is an annoying choice. It has no micro adjust. That means sizing all year round can be a chore. Who's it for? Die-hard Heuer fans, of course. I don't think they sell a ton of this model. It's positioned as the more retro lineup, where the Formula Ones and other watches, I think, make up the bulk of Tag sales. You have to go looking for this watch, much like the Zenith, and you have to not have strong feelings about Tag. I do assume that you have an interest in cars, and it just, feels like a motoring watch, which of course is the way it's positioned. I like the Norqain Wild One. That's the Norqain watch to me. The Adventure, on the other hand, is Norqain's generic diver. 40mm, gray or green in the steel models, aluminum insert, knurled bezel with a twist of flair there, Sellita SW200, regulated to COSC standards inside, $3,790. Strengths. I like the case. The protrusion on the left flank adds some personality. I like the knurled bezel, which is different from what you get typically. The date window is at 6, which is also fabulous. The green and gray are both really well executed. They've nailed the duotone look. It's really nice. This is the best iteration of the Adventure I've ever seen them release. But the price is absurd. There's just so much BS marketing to this brand, and I can't believe they're doing well. This is pricing in the Jean-Claude Bleaver Hublot end of things, and it's totally unjustifiable regardless of whatever they've done to the case. It is a nice watch though, and if you get it on secondary, it's fine, but you really have to be a glutton for punishment if you pay full price for this watch, regardless again of the case construction benefits. Only watch I have not had hands on, but I had to talk about it, the AP Neo frame. I don't envy being the CEO of AP. On the one hand, they are doing really well for themselves. They are growing, they are selling more watches at increasingly high prices. But on the other hand, they are still a bit of a one-trick pony where the Royal Oak in its many iterations carries that catalog. And I think they are aware of the risks that poses. The 1159 is decent, but it's nowhere near as respected. And after that, they've got nothing else. So someone says, let's make something new. And the thing they come up with is a jump hour, just like Nico Leonard or Cartier or Bremont or Chapek or Christopher Ward, all aboard the bandwagon yet again. They also make it square, like Nico, like Cartier, like JLC. To add insult to injury, they use a round movement because why not do the thing that you know nerds are going to complain about? They give it this weird neo-vintage styling, which to me feels like a mix of Louis XVII and Miami, sort of that Art Deco style. And they don't even have the confidence to leave out the AP logo on the black face. And it's probably already sold out, but if this was a way to try and introduce a new line, or even just test out an idea, I think this was a mistake. Rado Captain Cook 39mm. I think this watch was actually announced almost a year ago, but only recently did I get hands on. Rado doesn't come across my radar that often, but this one did. It's 39mm. This is not your generic diver. It's got a beads of rice bracelet and not a chintzy one. It's actually a good one. It's also old school and tool watch forward. The bezel and dial is not pie pan, but the bezel does slope inwards and surrounds a low domed crystal. The case is shiny, but more of a skin diver in profile than a deep sea diver. It's got this gradated fume kind of dial with a sword and broad arrow hands. It's $2,650. That's a full $1,200 cheaper than the Norqain. Can I tell in places? Yeah, but not by much. It's got a Powermatic movement, 80 hours of power reserve, which is in part achieved by a slower beat rate, but it's still really decent. Strengths, it's not boring. It's not derivative. It has its own visual voice. And I have to praise that. It looks good too. For a Swatch Group brand, this is a very reasonable proposition for a brand that you can get through an AD. Weaknesses, the lug-to-lug in itself isn't too bad, but the lugs don't curve that much, so it can feel a little bit bigger than you might expect. The date window is also in red, at least it was on the one I saw, and that just annoys me. Who's it for? We are in Doxa and Jacques Cousteau territory. This will appeal to someone that has a little bit of a real diver to them. You like retro, you like flannel, you are not like me because you are actually a cool person. The Maen Hudson MK5. I had this watch in for review recently and I didn't feel it warranted a dedicated review. The main reason being that there are so many divers out there in this price point and a 15-minute video might be a bit much. But 3 minutes, sure, 38mm case, 13mm in height, 47mm lug to lug, 5-link bracelet with easy adjust, ceramic bezel, black dial, black bezel, just over $1,125. The watch has 3 features that I think differentiate it from similar watches. The ceramic bezel is actually quite thin, and it's nowhere near as pronounced as you usually see. The 5-link bracelet is a pleasant departure from your usual 3-link affair, which makes for a dressier or less toolish watch, and that's also a good thing. The dial face has this textured look that I really appreciate. It's rougher and more substantial than anything I've seen on any other diver's dials, and it works really, really well. Frankly, just the fact that it's not a gloss black or a sunray is a plus. A lot of $1,000 divers deliberately steer clear of the desk diver look because they usually can't pull it off. They stick with more satination, flatter dials, simpler bracelets. But this one pulls it off, and if you're looking for a diver but want one that's more, let's say, formal or dressy, then this is a really good option. Strengths, the dial, for sure, it's super pretty. The movement is a Le Jeu Pareil with 68 hours of power reserve. The hands, I really like those thin, I'm going to call them skyscraper hands. Build quality is superb. Again, one of the brands that puts money into having suppliers that make decent parts, really decent parts, so that's also a good thing. I hate the fact that their watches state the height of the watch excluding the box crystal. It's just a thing that annoys me. It's got 2-color lume. Rarely, if ever, do I think that looks good. Another dislike, it's not a dislike, but the problem is there are a lot of watches like this. I like these kind of watches, I do. But I think if I were Jeremy Clarkson or more James May, but without the hair, I'd get bored at some point of reviewing yet another affordably priced mid-sized family estate car. This is your affordably priced mid-sized family estate car. It's a very decent option, but it's not really moving the needle in terms of trying something new. And that's not what I expect from Maen to do. That's not the lane they've picked, but it's just hard to get really excited about it. So who's it for? Value seekers, of course. Someone who wants a smaller and dressier skin diver-ish kind of watch. If you like this watch, you like something like the Seiko Marine Masters, but think they're too big. You like something like the Glashütte CQ or a Bathyscaphe from Blancpain. Skin diver adjacent territory with a desk diver lean. Those were the watches that I had for you this time. If any of you own one of these watches, share your experiences in the comments, including the customer service of the brand. Let others learn from your experiences. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe. Cheers.